look at our first chord of All of Me, C6. Go ahead and play a C major triad. Okay, so let's try adding the 2, meaning that's our good buddy. 2 is the best buddy. You could play, like, you can hang out with the 2 anytime, anywhere, and share a 10 by 20 apartment. All right, so here's the 1, the C, and I don't know if you guys know your major scale, but that's right, and that's the 2. 2, by the way, I'll come back to this maybe on another day or something, but 2 can also be referred to as the 9. There's a reason for that. I'll just say it real fast. When you skip thirds, you go 1 to 3 to 5 to 7 to 9, and that 9 is the 2, okay? Because, yeah, and really, you don't even have to think that strictly. The 2 and the 9 are identical. You can play them in any octave you want, basically. However, the closer it is to the root, the less it will sound like it'll start to demand attention. Meaning, if you play the 2 as the bass player, and someone else is playing the notes of someone else is just playing a C triad, like a guitar high up playing C triad, and you play a D, it's gonna sound like a sus chord of some sort, you know, with like a 2 and a 6, I believe. So, but that's not gonna be bad, because if you played the C and he played the 9 chord, it would be the same. It's almost becomes like a reharmonization to the ear. But according to function, it's not reharmonized at all, really. It's just the same notes in a different order. But anyway, so if we played our C major triad, we could include the 2, or the 9, same thing, which would be the 5th fret of the A string in this case, the D note. It becomes this. Which is what Coltrane used to solo a lot. It's like a cliche Coltrane, like Countdown or Giant Steps, when the change is like bam, 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 bam. That's like his go-to. But anyway, you can do it with walking too, or any permutation, and it sounds a little square, which we'll work out later. But anyway, so now you could. The thing is, the 2 doesn't, remember, it does not conflict with the major chord of any kind. So you can use a 2 over a major 7 chord or a dominant 7 chord. Now, a minor 7 chord, you might think, can you use it? Because a 2 is a half step from a flat third, right? But you can use it, and it works symbiotically the way that major 7 worked over a major 7 chord. One reason you might expect is that because the minor is a tragic person, it likes to associate itself with unpleasantness. I'll just give you an example. If I play, I'll do it high up. If I play a G minor 7 chord, or I'll just do a G minor triad. If I add the 9, it sounds very pretty. But you're hearing this, like a heavy metal band. Anyway, so it works. Meaning, look at this, man. The 9 is such a good pal. It's like fair weather or unfair weather friend. It's like it's your friend on the major 7 days, the minor 7 days, and the dominant 7 days. So that means we could play All of Me like this: C major with a 9 or 2, E7 with a 9, A7, D minor 7, E7, A minor 7, D7, D minor 7, G7, C major. All right? Pretty. Yeah, it's just extremely safe. There's times when maybe you don't want to do it, to sound less square, but that would be over a functioning dominant chord, meaning a 5 to a 1, where somebody's going to play the altered scale or the dominant diminished scale, and they're going to try to create a lot of tension on that G7, so there'll be a lot of resolution when it goes to the 1 chord. And under those circumstances, playing the 2 is going to sound really like just too tame. But it's still not going to be wrong if it says G7 chord, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, it's always a good note, but there is some circumstances where maybe you wouldn't want to do it. And that's all worth discussing later. But now you can try playing, if you want to take it far, you can try playing with your major and minor triad over a lot of different jazz standards. I mean, over rock songs, but jazz standards are less repetitive, so it's a harder practice routine. Using the triad and the 2. Then try using the triad and the 4. Then try using the triad and the 6. For example, C chord with the 4. C chord with a 6. Okay, and then you could go through all your chords that way. And then you could try permutating, then you could try changing what scale tone you use over each chord. Like if I did the 9 on the C chord, and then I did the 4 on the E7, and then I did the 6 on the A7, and then the 2 on the minor, or the 4 on the minor. By the way, when I told you about the 4 being a difficult sounding note with the major 7 chord or the dominant 7 chord, either, that's what some people call an avoid note, which sounds cowardly. But that's what they call it. Now, the minor chords has an avoid note as well. It's the 6. That's right. Yeah, basically it conflicts. I wouldn't say it doesn't sound well, because maybe you want a sound that sounds conflicted. But that's the way it sounds. It sounds conflicted. You don't often see a major 11 chord, which would mean to say the 4 and the 3 are together. Sometimes you hear a 4 instead of a 3. That's a sus chord. But if you hear them together, if you could, it would just be tense. It's worth exploring. Maybe you grow a taste for it. I like a lot of tense sounds. Now, there's so much to discuss, and we're kind of out of time, but I'll round up a little by saying some of these things. We have our chord tones, which cannot change, right? And then we have our scale tones, but there are other scales that have these chord tones. Just to give you an example, there's the major scale, which has several modes, all right? These modes are Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. I think I didn't miss any. Hopefully I didn't. Anyway, now, Lydian and Ionian have the same chord tones, meaning you can choose between Ionian and Lydian when you play over a major 7 chord. What's the difference? The difference is Lydian has a sharp 4 or sharp 11, meaning it solves that problem that we had about the 3rd and the 4th being so close together, because it lifts that 4th up a whole step. So then you'd have like this. Instead of doing 1, 3, 4, 5, you have 1, 3, sharp 4, 5. Which has kind of almost a mystical, or science fiction. Now the same is true for minor chords, right? We have Dorian and we have Aeolian, which are both minor modes. Now there's other ones too, like Phrygian, for example, but we're just going to talk about Dorian and Aeolian for a minute.